Hello everybody, what's up? My name is Carl Markowski and you are listening to the Playing On Podcast. Thanks for joining me. This episode is brought to you by Charm City Paintball. The head game master, Mike, down there in Florida, he is pumping out some sweet headgear. He's making some stuff right now for Rocky, and him and I are in a collab doing some of the pack bands. Him and I are also in works trying to get a headband out, trying to figure out some kind of design or pattern or something like that. But you can find Mike over on Facebook as well as Instagram. He has all kinds of patterns and styles. He does everything himself, and it's all the thicker kind of canvas fabric that I think is super durable, and he makes all his headgear as well. The like the mesh style. He has some white sandanas and everything that are out that are really slick. So make sure you check him out. It's Charm City Paintball on Facebook as well as Instagram, and we are also brought to you by Carbon Paintball, who I wear the base layers. It's the base layer top and base layer bottom. It's an integrated padding as well as compression fit under, what would you call them? Like, I guess you call them base layer. Yeah, and I don't wear anything else. I just wear that. It's very thick, dense foam, but it's thin, and it's a nice slim profile. I really like this stuff. They also have packs. They have pods, thermal changing pods that will actually change color as the pods heat up, so you know when to switch them out. They have gloves. They have an SC line as well as a CC line, so you kind of have that choice of you know, spending a little bit more money and getting a little bit better quality, or you can get the kind of the into the carbon world, which is the CC line. So if you guys have any questions at all, shoot me an email, carl@carbonpaintball.com, and also all of the Playing On Podcast listeners, you guys will get 10% off of your entire order by using the promo code capital TPOP, and if you use that promo code at checkout, you will get 10% off your entire order. But make sure you guys check out carbonpaintball.com, and you can see all the goodies over there. And we are also brought to you by Planet Eclipse, the makers of the new CS2, the LV 1.5, as well as the very slick Etha. I don't even know if they're pushing it as like a high-end mechanical marker. The Etha, the EMEC. I don't know. I don't think they are, but it's more of the GMEC side that's being pushed. But that Etha, man, I'm telling you, ask your local field to see if you can shoot one. I think they shoot awesome, and I had so much fun shooting that thing. But Planet makes all kinds of great stuff, as well as markers. They make some soft goods, and it's just a great company. Worked with them for very, very, very long time, and have nothing but great things to say about the company, and they definitely take care of their players as well as teams. So thank you to all of our sponsors. This podcast is with Rocky Knuth, and I have been pronouncing his name wrong ever since I started playing paintball. And but yeah, it was cool to hear his story and where the Naughty Dogs came from, and kind of how he started playing, and his style of play, I feel like, and his mentality, I'm familiar with, and I think that kind of winning mentality and how he views the game. It was cool to hear how he views the game too, because he took kind of a few-year hiatus, and he's coming back into it. But it was awesome talking to him, and I apologize for the audio. We were having some internet issues, so at some points, and of course some major points of what he was talking about, the internet decided to just cut it out completely. So at some points it might be a little choppy. Bear with us. I apologize. Anyway, here is the podcast with Rocky. So it is Rocky Knuth.
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong this entire time.
What have you been saying? Knuth or Newt?
No, I've been saying Knuth. Like
Knuth.
like the K is silent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Knuth. Knuth actually is how we pronounce it. Knuth.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I've been fucking up for years.
The H is the H is silent.
What's the origin of the name?
So the origin is German, but so like I was adopted by Knuth. So
really?
Yep. But the origin is German. I'm not German, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd say more like New Zealandish. I think
actually, close. Samoan and Filipino.
That was my second guess. Well, thank you so much, man, for doing this.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I've been excited. So
I appreciate the background too. I like.
Yeah, you like that? You like that? Thanks for the headband, by the way. It's awesome. Wore it this last weekend. So
dude, he makes some good shit. Like not just.
He does, man.
Like I'm not a big fan of like the sublimation where everything's like crazy prints and this like that's like on kind of a slippery like silky feel. I like the old school canvas.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. Imagine if we would have kept all that old school stuff that we had. I mean, at our old paintball field, we literally had a Sandana booth. Like we had like a mannequin head and all those head wraps and everything, just a ton of them.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I wish we would have kept those.
It's ridiculous. It almost makes me like sad about it because not mad because now like, oh, I wish I had all this to sell, but it's like it's headgear. It's not like it's a 25 back then a $25 headband or something like that. Yeah. Even if that, and now everybody's. I think Bruno sold one of his Sandanas for like $800 or something like that.
Damn. I know Corey was pimping those things last year he was turning those suckers over pretty good. Like the Sandanas, he had the ghost ones, and I ended up buying like a red flying skulls one from him.
Yeah.
And I rock that every once in a while, but I'm going to move to these, I'm going to rock this tiger stripe, and then the charm guy's going to send me, like he made me a pretty cool one. So he's going to send that to me, I think.
Hell yeah. I wonder if the Sandana guy, because I don't know anything about really the company or anything like that. I wonder, since the Flying Skulls is such a popular pattern and design, I'm wondering if, like this is just in my head, I'm wondering if that was like his least favorite, and one of his friends was like, dude, no, just give it a try. He goes, no, I really don't like it. Like it kind of sucks. Like I really don't want to do it. But he pushed him into it, and it's like became all popular and everything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I actually, our first Naughty Dog outfit was the full Sandana skulls, top and bottom, and I really didn't care for the skulls. I'm not really into skulls or anything like that, but it was just like it was camo, and we played in the woods, and
yeah.
So our first, I actually still have the top, and I've seen like some of the other ones with these crazy colors, like the watermelon, and I remember like the purples, and those are the ones that are worth a ridiculous amount of money. And I remember like back in the day, like I don't want to say like the main players didn't wear those colors. They wore the green or there was like a tan one too, or a brown one. Yeah.
Or earthy
they didn't
stuff,
wear the earthy stuff. They didn't wear those bright watermelon or the purple or anything like that. And now, I mean, those are the ones the kids are called ag now or whatever that word is. But yeah.
I never got that word either. I've had, a lot of my friends, they always throw around the term toy all the time, because I think it was in the Greg Hastings game, like randomly as you're playing, like a player I guess would yell like, get out toy or something like that, and then they just started calling everybody toy around here.
I don't know.
Yeah, crazy friends. I love them though. But let's kind of get into your beginnings. Did you grow up in it's Oregon, not Oregon?
Oregon.
Yes,
it's Oregon. Yeah.
I learned that when I lived up in Washington. It got straightened out right away.
I didn't know you lived you lived up in Washington.
I lived in Tacoma.
Huh? Did you play paintball up there?
Yeah. So the story, I was gonna try out for you guys way back in the day.
I remember that. I actually remember all that. Yeah.
Because I was moving up to Tacoma from Ohio because a friend of mine was, let's see, Casebolt, Jason Casebolt. He was managing like a multi-million-dollar facility, that indoor Thrill Zone. It was an indoor paintball field along with a skate park, an arcade. You guys practiced there one time, and Cagnoni was up there. And I don't know if he did a clinic or if it was just a practice, but it was an indoor facility. You guys were shooting your freestyles back then. I think it was around 04, 05, I want to say.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember that, but I actually remember you wanting. I was like, yeah, we want him because he's fast. I remember that, like, because we had McCluskey at the time. I'm like, had two of the fastest guys in the league, be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember because I was talking to B-Dub, and I was like, hey, as this kid, I'm like, can you guys watch me play or something? Kind of want to try out, or I don't even know how I found him and approached him about it, but
I knew Thomas Taylor was from, but God, you were from here.
It was probably for about almost a year. I lived up there.
Do you miss it? You like?
Oh, dude, it was beautiful up there.
The weather here is awesome, man. Like, I don't know how you guys do it over there. Like, when I worked for Smart Parts, I'd fly over to Pennsylvania. I was just like, it's either hot or freezing, and I was like, there's no way I'd move
in 1
here.
week. In that week, we'll have those
ridiculous.
So when did you work for Smart Parts?
I think it was 06, 07, and 08, or maybe it was 07, 08. I worked for them about 2.5 years when they went out of business. Like, I was working on, I was one of the design engineers, so I would work on different projects. Like, I worked on the Lux project.
Oh, really?
Some of the 50 cal stuff at the end. So, yep.
Why didn't you stick around with them when they turned into DLX?
Well, so I was sitting there one day, and everything was going good, and I get this call from Billy, and he goes, like, if you, oh, cool, what are we done with? He goes, we're done. And I'm like, we're done? I'm on the phone with him, like, we're done. I mean, what do you mean we're done? And he goes, the bank locked the doors, we're done.
Oh, jeez.
So the company's done. And I'm just like, and then he hung up, and I'm sitting there just going, I don't have a job, and then I don't have a team sponsorship. Like, 'cause remember, we went all in with those guys.
Yeah.
So, like, I really was working for them, quit a really good job to work for them, and then ended up, they filed bankruptcy or whatever, bank foreclosed on them, and then, like, literally, that's when I had this, like, that's why you guys seen me just completely disappear from paintball. I was just like, done. Right.
Yeah.
I just, I think we tried to do the doc thing, and then I stepped out, and then, like, my brother and some of the other, my mom and them, tried to continue to run the team for a couple tournaments, but just didn't have the funding.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of made me disappear from the sport of paintball. I didn't even look back, man. I just restarted my life and just, went on, and then, came back about a year, almost 2 years ago now, pretty close to 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still fairly recent. Your return.
Yeah. My DJ was like, when my son was in going into high school, he was, football stud, and I'm like, let's focus on football. Paintball will be there after. And he had a really good high school career. Went and played college ball. Had a good college ball. Played pretty good college ball, and then ended up getting a pretty bad concussion.
Ugh.
So he ended up just finishing, and then that year he moved back home. He was down in California, and then, like, literally the first couple weeks he was home was like, Dad, remember what you promised me? I'm like, what? He goes, play paintball. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. So I went out and played one weekend. I hadn't touched a paintball from when I quit back in, I don't remember what it was, 09, 10, whatever it was, 10.
Yeah.
And literally have played almost every weekend since. So yeah, I got it bad again. Like, the one thing that I'm having a lot of fun right now, like a ton of fun. I'm working, we're working hard, man. We got our old facility open back up. My brother-in-law actually opened up our old training facility. So, like, we got that going full tilt. We just bought a brand new X-ball field for it. It's just like, we're just going full tilt. We're training hard for it. We're doing drills during the week. We're playing on the weekends. So running pretty hard. So
Hell, man, yeah, that's what you have to do that now. It's not like it was back in the day where you could, practice here and there. Not, I mean, I think teams back then practiced a halfway decent amount, but I think now people are taking it so serious, and you have to be so dialed in every single time that you step on the field, especially at tournaments, that it's just it's no joke, anymore. There's legit talent.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing is what I have right now, like I'm just going to use the Northwest Dogs. I got a bunch of young guys that were ex-college athletes or ex-athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And, they can run, they can jump, they can move, they want to train hard, they're hungry, they're mentally tough. They just don't have experience yet. And that's what I'm trying to do with them right now. We're literally, like I would say 75% of my guys work out at my facility, at my gym. And then
Nice.
We literally, like my son and one of the guys live together. One of the other guys is literally probably 30 minutes from my field or from our field and 20 minutes from my town. So four of us are all doing stuff together as much as we can, and I didn't even have that with the dogs. I mean, we had a lot of guys that were local,
Right.
but not like that. A lot of the guys, would practice on them. We that's the one thing about the dogs. I'm a practice guy. Like I'm one of those guys that like my mind works to where I can't beat you with talent, but I'll beat you with work ethic. If that makes sense. Like I might not have always the talented players, but I'll have the guys that want to work and want to put the grind in, and just want to play all the time. And that's the way my mind works. Like me personally, like I don't miss workout days. I don't miss training days. I'm just wired that way,
Yeah.
And then it's just, I hate losing. I guess I hate losing more than I hate sleeping in and, not eating what I want to eat and doing cardio. And so, yeah, try to instill that in my guys.
Now, is this something that you've always done and that your mindset has been since you were a kid?
Always. Yep. Through sports. And then when I started playing paintball, always. Constantly. Yeah.
So when you were younger, what sports were you involved in before paintball?
Football and wrestling mostly. So, yeah.
I see you're wearing a Contract Killer or a CK Fight Life jiu-jitsu shirt.
Yeah.
So have you dabbled in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not it's been a few years. It's been actually a while, but yep. Little small circle stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the stuff you guys are learning now, just because it's a lot more of it now is geared towards the MMA, like the small circle stuff is made to like self-defense and break joints and break, fingers and arms and shoulders and whatever it is you can get a hold of, so it's a little bit different, but yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's something that I've actually had to pause right now along with paintball. It's because of my knee injury, but when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it's something that it's one of the first sports that is it's you, and that's it. And you are the one that is responsible for you. If you fuck up, you're the one paying the price for it. And
that's the way wrestling is. Like wrestling, you can't make any excuses. You can't say anything. You can't say the guy didn't block for you. The guy didn't give you a good pass. It's all about you. It's just one-on-one on the mat. Same concept. Yep.
Yeah, and it really honed in when I started doing it. I was like, man, this is what I've wanted to do and experience, is something like this, to where I'm being challenged. Not that paintball or team sport isn't challenging, but it's a different challenge. You got to rely on them. You got to make sure that they're doing their part as far as they're shooting their lanes. They're they're watching your back or whatever it may be. Are they working as hard as you are? Yeah, absolutely. It's aggravating. It's a belief in them. Yeah. Oh, absolutely frustrating.
Absolutely, it's frustrating. Yep.
Because you can have, whether related to any sport, even let's relate it to paintball. You can have 4 guys doing their jobs amazing, and if that one guy drops the ball, it could open up a window to a run through or something like that. I mean, you got to have
absolutely.
I think that's why a lot of those teams now, we don't have to get into this right now because I still want to hear your story. From the beginning, but I think that's why now a lot of the teams who are at the top and are remaining at the top are because those players are playing so much paintball and so frequently playing paintball and put in all these different situations. They're all making the right decisions because I think they're just playing so much, and I think that is where teams like Aftershock and a few different teams are at a big disadvantage because we don't get the weather like they do, and we're not able to get together as much as they do.
Yeah, like I don't want to get too far on the tangent of what's going on now with like what I've seen coming back, but like
we'll get into it.
Just a quick example. I literally watched almost all of Prague. Like I literally just took, there was a different time zone, so I could come home and watch it without, having to watch it live. And I stayed off social media, so I wasn't seeing who was winning, because I really was, I'm a fan.
Right.
And the one thing that I'll tell you is, I think the European guys are closing the gap because I think they work harder than us. I think they drill. I think they do more fundamental stuff. The only thing they don't have yet is time, right? Mm-hmm. Experience, right? Like people when I'm not a big, I don't really talk about paintball as much on the outside unless it's into my community, right? Because it's really hard to explain to them you're a pro, like, you're in an airport, paintball, ping pong? No, paintball, we shoot each other, but for me, it's like, the sport energy systems wise, I think it matches like an MMA or a football, football stylish because it's high intensity, it's intervals. Mm-hmm. But mentally, the game to me is more like baseball. And I'm not a baseball guy by no means, but like if every guy that could throw a ball, 90 miles an hour and hit a ball out of the park could go make millions, he would. But it's the sport of baseball it requires just time in the sport. So you're not thinking about if you get, if the bases are loaded or there's first and third or whatever it may be, like it's all instinctive to those guys, right? Because they've been playing since they were kids all the way through.
Right.
Paintball's the same way. I mean, I got these guys right now that fundamentally are ridiculous. These guys have, they're 19, 20, 21 years old, 22 years old guys that can jump out of the gym, have massive reflexes. You get to gunfights with them. They're just phenomenal, but they don't have experience yet. So they don't know what to do in certain situations where like guys that like, that like I'll use myself, they've been playing for years. I don't think, like when something happens, you just go, right? Because we've been there a million times. And
mm-hmm.
and that's the difference, I think, is when the Europeans, they're going to be tough to beat, and I'm talking about like some of the top European teams, like some of those cats off of the Kings, those tall dudes,
mm-hmm.
Those guys will be superstars in a few years. They can fold up like lawn chairs and they're, they can see over all the bunkers. They're massively athletic,
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you just see it, and in my job, like, I'm a strength coach and I have a couple of gyms and I actually work for a college too. It's like, when you see fundamentals and I work with D1 athletes. I work just tons of athletes, and you just see they're just fundamentally sound in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that with more of the Europeans, Of course, you got our top teams, you have like Impact and, you got Heat and some of those guys that are up there. But I mean, I think we're going to get caught here in a few years. I think those Europeans are going to close the gap a little bit on us. Like the Tauntauns is a perfect example. They're one or two players away,
mm-hmm.
Just really just being crisp and very hard to beat. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you. And I think, the more and more that they play paintball itself, I think the more dangerous they're going to get. And, I think it's all coming down to, the almighty dollar. Because, the more paintball that they don't necessarily have to come and play the state's events. But, I mean, it's not going to be long until it's like, who does the main Russian guy, the bankroller, still fund that?
I don't know. Like I was saying, I've been so disconnected with like the NXL part of paintball. I mean, I watch you guys and stuff like that, but I'm not in the mix anymore. But like, I watch stuff, and I don't know if that Sergey, I think his name was, the pasty dude. So. Remember, he used to put all that stuff on his face, vampire guy.
Yep.
I don't know if he's still running it. They obviously have some kind of funding, but I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one, man. It's yeah. Later on, let's get into that talk. It's a crazy one, man. Like when I came back, I was very shocked to see the state of our sport,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I literally shut it off. I was so depressed and disappointed with, just the whole situation with the smart parts and how it went down. And then, I just shut it off and moved on, and coming back. I regret doing that by far because I felt like, I killed paintball in the Northwest, and since I came back, it's been, and I'm not saying it's me, man. I'm just saying since I've been back in 2 years, we've opened fields. We went from like I was going to fields to practice and there'd be 1 or 2 guys. And now at my home field, we have 25 to 40 guys every weekend.
Oh, wow.
It's just growing. It's starting to grow back again in the Northwest. And that's what I really want to do. I want to make it, we were never like Southern California. Like that was a hotbed, or even like Texas, but we want, I want to kind of put us back on the map a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. Well, I think, all it takes is a little bit of momentum. And as soon as you get that ball rolling, it's...
The last WCPPL, there was 10 Northwest teams. That's the most they've ever had. So West Coast Series, and that's just been happening. We sent 3. So yeah, I'm just saying it's happening. It's just a slow, it's just a kind of a slow roll. We got 2 pro teams here in the Northwest, and one of them has a lot of talent but don't practice very much. And the other one just doesn't have any talent and just doesn't have any budget, and it's just really hard, so like, yeah, it's just hard. The budget thing is hard. I know, I don't know the Uprising guys real well. I know Tucker, he's playing my silver team a little bit, but, and I know Corey and some of the, I don't know the new guys, but I know some of the old guys that played for me, and, it's a struggle for those guys. It's Aftershocks the same thing. I didn't get to talk too much. I got to play with Rennick last year at a UWL, and I got to talk to him. We chatted a little bit about team stuff, and it's just hard, right? Like if, I don't know how you guys do it. It's just really, really hard to stay motivated and just stay trying to move forward. It's better than anybody right now, right? You're living it right now. Like you're having to. Do you have to fly to practice? Like,
no, I'm driving. I'm just at 4 hours. 4 hours to Badlands.
Yeah.
It's not a huge haul, but it's enough where it's early when I take off, and then to go have a practice and then drive back and then go to work on Monday. And
yep.
I am not as young as I used to be, so it's definitely taking more of a toll on me now than it has been in the past. But
yeah, I was wondering when I was checking out your Instagram, you're starting to get into jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, man, is he going to be able to stay healthy, bouncing off the ground and then going and rolling around? Because I tell you what, that's the one thing I can tell you is I've gotten older. Like now that my job involves basically creating athletes, or so I train myself. Obviously, I'm in better shape than I've ever been. Bigger, faster, stronger, whatever. The only difference that I noticed from myself, let's say 10 years ago, is if I tweak something, I don't go to bed and get up the next day and it's gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know how old you are now, but like you'll get at that age where like you tweak something, it might take a week to heal versus like, if my son tweaks something, he'll blimp around and the next day it'll be gone, or 2 days later. For me, I got to do soft tissue work, stretching and icing. And, I even do my own Graston technique on myself, to like, heal those ligaments up. And it's just extra work.
What technique is that?
Scraping. Scraping. So basically you just take an implement. I have what's called a mobility star. And like, let's say like I battled a little bit of Achilles tendonitis last season.
Yeah.
And I just worked on it with this scraper, and I'll send you some information if you want, and just kind of healed it up. So
yeah, absolutely, because I'm right now waiting on the results of my my MRI for my MCL for my right knee, because Dallas was an awesome display of Mother Nature, and it was like I'm surprised it didn't happen at the event. With the amount of mud that we were dealing with and the wetness and shit.
Yeah.
After that event, my knee was sore. I could still walk on it, but it was sore. And it wasn't until my second day of training jiu-jitsu in the morning, some guy had me in a leg lock, and I just tried to, just tweak my way out of it. And, and just like how I normally do. And I was like, ooh, that didn't feel right, and my knee got hot.
You felt it pop?
I felt and heard the pop, but there wasn't instant pain right away. It was just heat. my knee just got hot, and then I rolled again after that because I didn't really hurt. It just kind of felt weird. And then like towards the end of that roll, I'm like, ooh, okay, I gotta sit down, and I eventually sat down. I didn't have any bruising or any significant swelling, so I'm
but
pretty.
That's not always a good tell though, right? So we work with a lot of athletes that hurt themselves, and we're not physical therapists by no means, but we usually get athletes right when they're released from physical therapy or whatever. But yeah, swelling is not always a good indicator. Like it can be like my son tore his PCL and his knee hardly ever, he had full rebuild.
Yeah.
His junior year, and he hardly had any swelling. So you can't. Sometimes it's not a good tell. Did you go get it looked at from an ortho though?
Yeah. Oh, there's something definitely wrong with it. Like I'm.
Did he give you a grade, like grade 1, grade 2, or?
He said it could possibly be an MCL injury or it could be a meniscus injury. I don't think it's meniscus. Just how the injury occurred and what had happened, like hearing the pop and everything that I've read.
Twisting though, kind of, you can get, that's kind of indicative of a meniscus, like a bucket tear or a slight tear or something like that. But
I had a knee scope on the same knee, and it was a meniscus issue before, and I felt that pain before, and I was like, it just doesn't feel like that.
Same.
Yeah. But I'm waiting on the MRI results, and then I'm kind of up in the air right now with Atlantic City, but I'm actually researching some stem cell.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clinic not too far from me, and I don't think it's tore, or if it is, it's slight. I know it's not a rupture because I think if it was a rupture, there would have been a lot more significant signs of a rupture, but I don't think it's anything major. But right now, like, for 4 days after it happened, I couldn't hardly walk, hardly go upstairs, downstairs. Now I'm walking a slight jog, but if I turn to my left and I kind of drag that foot, you know how you do when you kind of turn.
Yeah, MCL for sure. Yep.
Yeah, it was like oh my, I gotta sit down, and then eventually, a couple minutes I can stand back up, but it's still really tender, and I just don't know if I'm gonna be ready in time for Atlantic City. That's 3 weeks away, I think, after this. Yeah. It's no bueno. So let's see. We never got into how you found paintball and how that came about.
So paintball. My stepdad was actually playing paintball way before I was even playing. He was playing with his work groups, and he was going out, and then he actually opened up a field, Albany Outdoor Paintball, before I even played. Isn't that crazy? And then one day I'm like, he just kept asking me to go out, and so I'm like, me and one of my buddies, we went out and played. And the very first time I played, it was fun. It was all right. And then the second time I played is when I got hooked, and I went out and bought a mini mag. And then
how old were you at the time?
I want to say 20, maybe.
Oh wow.
20.
Late bloomer.
Yeah. Well, at 20 back then, you were young, right? Because when I came into paintball, the Bob Longs and all that, they didn't think that people were good enough to play paintball because they weren't smart enough until they were in their 40s or 30, because they're hunters, right? So like all those guys were all hunters and stuff. So like all the kids we weren't smart enough to play paintball. But anyways,
yeah.
So I went out there and just literally, like, they had a team, and I literally just shot the shit out of them. Like, they've been playing for a year together, and it's just kind of a natural, reflexes or whatever, just really aggressive. And then so I played with them a little bit, and then I found out they had this tournaments. I'm like, what, tournaments?
Yeah.
So played around with them. I guessed with a team called Outrage and they were like the local powerhouse team, and I went to Reno with those guys, and we ended up winning Reno. They never won anything before.
Oh, really?
And we ended up winning Reno. And I don't think it wasn't an NXL. It was what was that Russell Maynard series? Dan Bromberg. Shoot. You know what I'm talking? You remember those? They were like West Coast GWL.
The GWL sounds familiar.
Was it GWL?
I remember Bone Break, but I remember.
Yeah, so Bob Long and all them were there. Like Bob Long was there. I met Chris Lasoya. In fact, I almost got in a fight with Chris there.
Really?
Yeah, but So we went there, we won it, and then I came home, and I'm like, I really like this stuff. You know, I love paintball, but I didn't like that team. And it wasn't I didn't like the guys. I didn't like the organization. Like, I was left at the airport, like, to get picked up, and I'm like, I can't. I'm too much of a coordinated type of guy. Like, I have to have point A, point B. I'm just very structured, you know?
Yeah, you like getting shit done.
And, yeah, so they had the younger guys, Outrage 3, like, they're just, you know, they're bottom level guys, and they were all around my same age, right? So then I took those guys, moved them to Albany, and ended up we were kicking their ass like within, you know, just a month or two of being a team together, you know, with these young guys, and we started, you know, that's how the Naughty Dog started. So yeah, I took some of the misfits off this team, and, you know, my brother, and my stepdad actually played for us at that time, and then we took 3 of those guys, and ended up that's how we started. So.
Yeah, that is so cool. Like, I remember playing you guys pretty much all throughout the 2000s. I stopped playing in 2009.
We played you all the time. It was excessive.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You could do.
Yeah, I remember
so
we always had to
fun.
count for you because you were fast. Like, we always we got to worry about Carl. He's going to be in the snake. You know, he's going to be in this bunker. He's going to run up the middle and just dive over. You know, I remember.
Oh man, it was so much fun playing you guys too, because I feel like I feel like you guys should have been so much better than what you were. That's not like me saying,
no, I know
what
you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there were times where I would watch you guys play, and you would just be on point. It was just like, boom, 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 no matter who you played, you know? And then other times I'd watch him like, what is happening? Oh my God, what is happening? But
yeah, I don't know, man. It's like we were so streaky. We would go and just blow everybody off the field.
Yeah.
And then Sunday would come, and it was like a different team. And I don't know. Like, I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And I just figured it was some of my guys were fair weather guys, you know. I'm not going to say any names, but there were some guys that would, like, you know, they're when everything was easy, they were just money, right? But when stuff got tough, when times got tough or we were behind, they just kind of, you know, kind of, yeah, just weren't mentally tough, you know. So, and I'm a tough guy to play for. I'm pretty demanding, and you know, I'm a pretty fired up type of guy, you know, like
Well, I mean,
so,
everybody
super nice off the field, but yeah, I mean, I play with passion, right? Like the will to win, man. I just want to win more than just. I mean, I can't even explain it. Second place is not even like acceptable. Like, if I go to a tournament, man, like I'm no matter what, I want to win. Period. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's just the way I was brought up, and the way, you know, I bring up my kids. We just want to win.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, any team sport, or, you know, in anything, but especially in a team sport, when you are you're trying to be successful on a team sport, I mean, that has to be the mentality, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's not, then you're doing it wrong,
right? Like for me, like why do it? You know, like yeah. You know, like, I've been asked over and over again, are you guys gonna do a pro team? Are you gonna do this? And I'm like, you know, the only way that I would ever do another pro team, I mean under the Naughty Dog's flag, is if somebody came and gave me enough money to do it, right? It had to be a good chunk of money. Like, I'd have to have enough money to create a training system, and enough money to go get the interim players to bring into the system to kind of help groom the younger guys. You know, like, bring in some skilled vets that are still hungry, not these other guys that, you know, I still see, like, these pro paintball players that they don't put the work in, and it shows. Like, they're not conditioning, they're out of condition, you know, they look like shit. They don't do the, you know, they're just the fundamental stuff, you know. They just expect they can go practice once or twice before an event and then perform at the pro level. You can't even do that at the divisional level. You know, the divisional level, to me now, like, when I played pro before, there was a pretty good separation between. I don't think we called it division. We called it, like, amateur A. Well, maybe we did have divisions. Yeah, we did have Division 1, Division 2. We didn't have all the way down to, like, D5, but there was a pretty good gap. There's not a gap anymore. Like, I go down to those California tournaments, and some of those teams down there are legit. Like legit, you know, and you know, you're going to see some of those. Usually the problem with those California teams is they get pulled apart by, you know, the likes of Dynasty and Aftermaths, and, you know, all the, you know, the big dog teams in that area. They kind of get the good players get plucked. But I mean, just the fundamentals of watching them play is they're good. You know, they just got to get experience, so.
And I think that's what needs to happen with these, with your guys and with the newer teams. They have to make the mistakes. Make the mistakes, have the experiences, build your character, and that is what being a veteran, a seasoned pro is about. I mean, because anybody can go pro. Anybody can play professionally. Granted, it takes a little bit of hard work, it takes a little bit of luck, takes a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right now, it's just if you're just somebody's buddy, it seems like on some of those teams, man.
Yeah.
Like I see some of these teams, they recruit these guys, and it's just like you didn't even let this guy like develop, right? Like you can't jump a guy from D5 to pro, right? There has to be like a walk or a crawl, walk, and then run, right? Because I made the mistake once, man. I had a kid. I don't know if you remember Blake Beerham. He was pretty much a McCluskey clone. Not quite as explosive as McCluskey, but they had a similar playing style. And Blake played on my semi-pro team, and he was phenomenal. And he was 16, and I pulled him into the pro ranks. And he struggled a little bit, because he just wasn't quite ready.
Right.
He ended up becoming a pretty good player. But I mean, what I'm saying is like I just tried to pull him up so soon, and he was like a perfect example of what we're talking about. Like if you just pull these guys up too soon, they just don't develop. They don't develop properly.
Too big of a shock, and then
too big of a shock. And you start getting to some of these teams where these guys are just so good now. We'll use impact. I mean, geez, if you were to make a fantasy roster. Like if you say, hey, Rock, make a fantasy roster right now, I would probably have 2 or 3 of those guys on my fantasy roster, right? If you were to say choose, 2 or 3, like pick 6 guys or 7 guys. I mean, for sure, like I would probably pick 2 or 3 of those guys. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're full of killers. And then
you can't even, you stop them on one side, they're going to come up the middle. You stop them on the middle, they're going to come down to Doritos. I mean, it's just
and all those top 5 teams, those top 5 teams, they're all like that, and and they're doing it with multiple lines. I think Impact, maybe not Houston Heat, but I mean, there's teams that are doing it with multiple lines, and that's where I'm wondering where the sport is going. Are we going towards is the format going to change? Does the format need to change for paintball to get popular? Is Go Sports the answer to popularizing the sport?
Go Sports is enjoy the shit out of Go Sports, man. I think Maddie is like the voice of paintball. Maddie's like the All-State guy, that black guy, that real deep voice for All-State. Maddie's like that for us. I'm talking about for paintball, and he does such a great job, and he stays engaged for, I mean, that's got to be 10 or 12 hours sitting in that booth. It's got to be insane. But he keeps us engaged. But I think the format is flawed. And I love the format. I love playing the format. And I don't know what the answer is. But as far as like if I was to sit down here and bring, a bunch of my kids over that I train and say, this is what I do, and let's watch it on TV, they would be interested for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then they'd be on their phones, right? Because there's nothing for them to – there's no ball for them to track. There's no – when you watch paintball, especially on Sunday, it seems like 5 guys break out, 1 guy might get shot, and then all of a sudden they just sit there in gaps.
Nobody wants to make a mistake.
No, and just gaps and gaps, and it just gap control, and it's so boring, and you're just like, ugh. If you watch it on Friday, it's really exciting. Like when I watched the first couple of games on this Prague thing, man, it was like that cat from Tauntauns. I can't remember his name.
Kevin Knuth?
No, the other guy, the guy that just flies down the snake. Godin? Is it Axel Godin?
Yeah, Axel Godin. Or Godin.
That guy he literally would just run shooting to the snake, dive in and be it on their side. I mean, that fast, Mouse, another perfect example. Just running and shooting to the snake one, dives in the snake one. By the time the other guys are even settled, he's already at the 50, eventually they stop that. They figure it out how to stop it, and, they'll put 2 or 3 guns on it. But I mean, I don't know how they do that, change the field every day. I don't know, it's a crazy one. But I mean, as far as spectating, you need to make the balls so where you can see them, right? Like if you're like if you're watching paintball, like it's awesome to stand behind somebody and see the streams. It's awesome to see the paint exploding in the air and all the cross shooting. And if they could find a way to illuminate that, that would make such a huge difference on like spectating, you know, and then objective, like have some kind of objective, whether it be some kind of, I don't even know, a ball or a flag or like certain buttons in certain places where like people are like excited to go, oh, is he going to get that? You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, I think, you know, when I always compare paintball, I always compare it to hockey. Because,
hockey, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's, but, and you know, unfortunately in paintball right now, there's no focal point. You know, it's all individual focal points of this guy doing his job and is focused on this, and then this guy's doing this job, this guy's doing this job. Even though we're all talking, working together, doing that whole collab thing as a unit, it's still individual looking on the screen. And I don't know. I mean, I'm going over with a few people just trying to figure out what needs to happen and to make this interesting to people who have money. Yeah. You know?
Have you ever played the UWL?
I've like once, I think.
So I played it one time, and it was in Oregon, and, you know, I got to play with some pretty cool dudes, you know, like Rennick Miller and Billy Sorensky, and, you know, it was cool. I always wanted to, you know, I didn't really get to play against those guys a whole lot. They were going out as I was coming in, but they were the guys that you kind of looked up to, you know, like, oh shit, you know, Billy Sorensky, you know, or Rennick Miller or Bob Long or whatever. But I mean, so they have, and I could be like a little bit wrong on this, but they have 3 flag stations, and the objective is like to hold each flag station at certain times. So, you know, if they did, I don't think that that's the answer, because it would be just slow and kind of on an airball field. But I mean, if you had multiple, like at least objectives on each side to where like you had to control it for a certain amount of time, or even just get like more points if you hit a button on the 50, or you know, I don't even know, or, you know, make it to where 2 of your guys have to break out further than like the 40-yard line, like make a mark, like they have to go to, you know, like, you know, you have to go to the middle wall, or you have to go to the snake, or you have to take 2 of the 3 ones on the break. You know what I'm saying? And that would make it pretty exciting, right? Because then you'd see guys.
That's not a bad idea, because I mean that's forcing at least some kind of forward progress, regardless of situation or anything like that.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I will say about this new format, though, the 10.5 and the way the bunkers are in the middle kind of makes us older school vets a little more relevant. Does that make sense? Like when you just have an X or a wall in the middle, and you just have guys wanting to break and then seal things off, and then like it's like, I just know like last year when I played with the wall, it was really easy for me to set up guys, right? Because I could just set guys up and say you only have to shoot this lane and that's all you do. But now with all the bunkers and all these different arrays, and you don't know what it's going to be like, it kind of makes the guys that played in the woods, or the guys that play the 7-man days where we had to think about certain moves and things, it makes us a little bit more relevant. If that makes sense. I think that's why you're seeing guys like, I'll use Rainey, for example. You know, Rainey Stanzik, that dude is balling out right now. He's on fire. And he's an old school guy. I remember playing against Rainey way back in the day, and I actually played that UWL with him, and he was a machine out there, like just a killing machine, you know, and he's playing like that now with the, you know, the bunkers all in different arrays, because he's a really sharp, smart guy, you know, and I think that with those bunkers being able to move around and stuff, it kind of takes the monotony out of, like, you know, remember the days when you used to be able to coach the front guys? Remember how Bob Long took a bunch of no-namers and started winning everything because he could just coach them down the sidelines and everything?
Oh, yeah.
That's how the wall kind of made paintball, kind of. Not quite as robotic as that, but it was super, like, once you figured out that this
predictable
side of the wall could hold the whole Doritos back or stop the snake, then guys were just sending them, or they'd exchange, and then, you know, then the next guy would fill it or whatever. But I mean, I think the new bunkers help a little, you know. But
well, I think the wall was just what paintball has always been, is an experiment, is a trial, is, you know, trial and error.
Yeah, but with the X back in the day, the one thing that I will say with Richmond, the way he designed the game with the X, he would always make the X. It wasn't really the center. I mean, it was the centerpiece, right? But he made it to where you didn't play as much up in the middle. You went wide because the field was squished, and then you go up. right? So like the game was really played out and up, right? Because
Yeah.
the snakes were always powerful and the Doritos were always in a row or whatever, with some shit in the middle, but not a whole bunch. I think the wall changed that. The wall made it more of just, like that, So
Well, wall, and then I think they added like 4 pins, and then there's a lot of bunkers on the field. I feel like there's a lot of bunkers on the field, especially going back to when there was a physical X. I mean, shit. I felt like there was like 5 bunkers on each side.
They had the little boxes and they'd lay down those cans. I freaking hated that bunker.
Oh, I love the lay down cans. I loved them. Yeah. I love them because I could run far and dive into it. And I had, when you dive, you have to be so conscious of your body, like throwing your legs this way or this way. Diving into a can, especially going forward at a can, you can dive early and maybe like lean out and shoot while you're going up or something like that. Meaning when you dive early is that it's less of a chance that the guys downfield are going to see you going into the spot or whatever. But I wish they would do that now. I want to see that now.
The lay down cans?
Yeah, fucking do it. Why not? It's like...
Yeah, true. Change it up. It's like the same bunk. I came back to paintball, and pretty much all the bunkers are shaped really close to being the same, minus the addition of like the wall. And I think that's the cakes, the taller cakes. We didn't have those back in the day, but
I'm surprised they didn't bring back that whole not the car wash, because I think the car wash was at least on an X-ball field. I think the car wash would be a little big. But do you remember the little tent?
Yep.
The little tent. I think that would be a cool bunker. I like the lay down shit. I don't like the tall stuff. I'm not that tall, so it's like the cans are tall enough for me. But I think even back then, we were shooting uncapped semi, and I loved.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Semi.
And we make it to the corner. We were shooting.
And it's not like we sucked.
20 balls. I remember maxing out the halos on our guns, and the paint back then was ridiculous.
Oh, so
like
good.
It would so good. Like big. These 6.9. Back then I thought 6.91 was small. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Like 6.91 was a smaller paintball. Now 6.84 seems like the standard. 8.5 is the standard size. But
dude, 8.9. I used to shoot 6.89 all the time, and it would be just a little tight. Just a little tight, but it was like it was like perfect.
But the paint was so it would just shatter and then leave. Yeah. These looking like either stained yellow or pink, but it was just so good. It was, I don't know. It was
so. My favorite paint from back then, probably hands down, has to be the forest green Hellfire, orange fill, forest green shell, and that was like 06 era.
I like the purple with pink fill.
Purple with pink fill.
Remember the pink, the
Evil?
It's not Evil. It was called
white.
Oh, Evil was awesome. We never got to shoot Evil though. We were always a Drax's team, but they had a really good. It was Imperial Hellfire. That's what it was called. Imperial Hellfire. You don't remember that? You couldn't shoot that. You were sponsored by somebody else back then, right? You were Excessive.
Well, Excessive. Excessive. I'm pretty sure we shot Hellfire. We shot the green shell orange fill Hellfire.
That was good shit too. Yeah, absolutely. The old orange was super it almost. I think they had titanium or something in it, if I remember right. But it was that's what they used to say. But it was super. It was fluorescent. Mm-hmm. When it hit, it was like a fluorescent.
Yeah, you would know.
Yep.
So what do you think about? And I brought this up to multiple people. Everybody listening probably hates that I talk about this so much, but I think it would bring back so much more gun skill to the sport if we capped it at SemiAuto 15 balls a second.
I like SemiAuto because I naturally have fast fingers.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is it's cheating. It's just the bottom line. It's coming from a guy who used to manufacture boards, and I was around during that era. Look, one of my front pages, look, it says 15 balls per second.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome to play. It would be awesome, but they'd have to find an absolute way. The manufacturers would all have to get in line and sign some kind of contract that's saying they're not going to put cheater boards and go modes in their guns.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking to everybody, and that's the only problem is I think that you'd have a hard time policing it, right? Because you're going to have guys, I mean, especially now you got so many smart kids, they're going to hack those things. And, I mean, they'd have to do something like when you show up to the event, the manufacturer flashes your board and then the gun stays with them, right? Because when I played when we won that Smart Parts ESPN World Championship in 06.
Super fun, by the way.
Yeah, we checked. You were there, right?
Oh, yeah. I played for Excessive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Excessive.
You guys won. Congratulations again.
Yeah. But they remember we checked our guns in? Remember they potted, like they sealed the boards, and we checked them in on those trays before, and I mean, after. And that's what they would have to do, like to be, just completely 100% to make sure no one's cheating. I mean, that's the only.
How do we know that people aren't shooting 10.4, 10.5 balls a second now instead of 10.2?
We don't know. We don't even know if like
so somebody could be cheating.
Yeah, but we don't even know right now. It's like when you're snap shooting, right? Like if you're snap shooting a ball, is it 10.5? Like if your first 3 balls come out 15 balls per second, you're not going to catch that, and then boom, it hits the ramping, right? I mean, there's so many. Yeah, they could be cheating, absolutely. But I mean, the difference now with the 10 point whatever it is, 10.5 is it's rhythmic, and you can hear it once it's in ramping. So like when if you got 2 guys running, one guy in the middle, usually your middle guy is going to be the one cheating, right? Because he's the one laning. So if you can hear the pitch change in the gun, right? It's different pitch than the other gun, than the gun shooting 10.5.
Dummy mode kicks in. That's what I call it. I call it dummy mode because anybody out there could shoot it. I want to play a tournament because this is what I want to do, and I don't think it's been done before yet because nobody has thought of the idea. My whole mission behind this to try and push this whole thing is to bring the skill of being able to shoot fast, at least 15 balls a second, which is still fast, but being able to shoot that and control somebody left and right-handed while loading. It's a skill.
Absolutely. Like I was one of the guys who had really fast fingers. Both, I mean, like fast, and it. When we went to the to the ramping and the NXL modes or whatever, remember, there was even a full auto time if I remember right.
Oh, I hated it. You're one of the first guys that I watched play and heard how fast your gun shot, and I actually I would watch your fingers and everything, and I was like, I can say, hands down that I've never had a cheater board in my gun. I've never had it flashed. I've never done anything. I always shot a stock board. It was always in stock semi, uncapped. Always. Yeah. And I just learned how to shoot fast. And I don't know if you cheated or not, if you had boards or not, but like I would watch, and even perfect example for me is that if it's just like anything, if it's done multiple times and it's practiced and it's done right, you can get good at anything. And I feel like that.
I used to walk around my house with my gun in my hand, and it would sit next to my couch. And when I watched TV, I'd pick it up and just practice dribbling because that was important. That was an important skill to have. Like the guy that can shoot 3 or 4 balls per second consistently faster on the break had an advantage to the guy that couldn't.
Yeah. And it's not something where I'm pretty sure you've never played like this, to where you would get here and you would, because you could shoot fast, you would shoot a bunch of paint here, shoot a bunch of paint here, shoot. It would be like control, move,
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that would bring such a different aspect to the game because now there's so many guys who can't shoot left-handed or who can't load and shoot and control, and they're doing it with one finger, and this is skill. I have skill right now. I'm holding my lane. I'm doing my job. And to me, if you can do that, but you can walk the trigger and everything, and you can control somebody left-handed or right-handed with a volume of paint that you're actually shooting because you learned the set skill. I think having the ramping dumbs everybody down to a level.
It does. It absolutely does. But I mean, so I look at it from both point of views. Like I agree with everything you're saying. I came from semi to full auto to ramping to 15 balls per second. I mean, 12. And I mean, I was kind of, my career was in those eras, right? I agree 100% with you. But the only issue is I look at it from the other side. Logistically speaking, you'd have to dedicate a ref and machines to catching cheaters because when there's money involved, when there's sponsorships involved, people are going to cheat. It's life. It's just the way it is. Look at the Olympics.
Human nature.
It's just the way it is. if we could do that, then absolutely it'd be great. It would definitely separate, a ton of people, right? It would, especially the guys that can shoot off-handed or, whatever. But I mean, it's just, you would have to have the manufacturers buy into it, all of them. I'm talking, I don't think you'd have a problem with Planet Eclipse. I don't think you'd have a problem with Empire. I don't think you'd have a problem with a lot of those big companies, but some of those smaller companies, and I'm not saying that any of those guys are going to cheat. I'm just saying that, like, when you have like a company like Dye or Planet Eclipse, they got some pretty robust software. They got some good engineers that are designing their software and stuff. And then you have a smaller company, and I'm not going to say any names because I'm just saying, like, a smaller company that might be trying to do their own board design. Their stuff might be more hackable than, like, let's say a board that comes from Planet Eclipse, right? Because their shit is latest and greatest, right? Dyes, new, their stuff's really up to date, like, electronics wise, and you would just have to be able to find a way to police it. I don't know if it would be worth doing it in the divisional ranks, because it would just be too much logistics. But in the pro ranks, you only got 20 teams. It could be done. You just would have to have the manufacturers buy in and sign contracts or do something, because, and then just randomly test them, So
yeah, it's almost like the boards coming from the factory have to have, have a chip in them and a reader.
You could actually, what you could do? You could do that, right? Because I remember when I was designing boards, one of the software engineers that I was working with, we talked about doing something like that. We talked about just clipping guns. You could just put something on the micro switch, and actually the technology is even better now. You could just have something read the micro switch and then read the shot count, and then it would tell if you're cheating, if you have debounce or anything, and it could be something that the league could come up with and install on the guns, or maybe have board manufacturers have a port. That's what you would have to do. Have board manufacturers put a port right behind the trigger switch that's in line with it, and make sure you guys have a electronics engineer look at the circuitry, and then just plug in whatever, like the NXL plug, and then if it's detecting a shot that's not with a trigger pull, it'd be easy to catch. Yeah, it'd be super easy to catch. They could do it. I mean, somebody could hack the software all they want, but as long as the NXL grabs their chips and plugs them in at the events, you know what I'm saying? And then, and then make the penalty for getting caught very severe. Not a malfunction. Well, there's malfunctions, right? Some, trigger switches get dirty. I mean, there's some malfunction. There's some guys that are just idiots. They just don't have their shit set up right, and it'll be bouncy or whatever. But if you get caught, by messing with the firmware software, like to where people don't want to take the risk. Like Olympics, if you get caught using illegal substance, you're out. Yeah. Right? Done.
But I don't think this is what sucks and why it affects me so much. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, why are you living in the past? Why are you doing this? But it's not like that for me. For me, it's a skill set that original paintball players had, regardless of whether they were cheating or not, because I believe the majority didn't. But that's just, I try and see the good in everybody. But what? At least I can say that I went through it with a clear conscience, and it's not like I made a fortune off the sport anyway, and I don't think anybody is now. I mean, definitely not any of the professional players with the payout and everything else that's happening until money starts flowing in from different areas, from different companies or something like that. And
you mean outside our sandbox?
Outside the sandbox, where not all the companies are just growing inside of this bubble that we have, and there's a ceiling to it, I feel. Yeah. And with the way that we're going, I feel like there's a ceiling to it. And until those Nikes get more involved in the Under Armour or whoever needs to be involved, we're gonna hit this ceiling. And I think we've hit the ceiling and we bounced off of it, right? Because when I was at the peak of my career, and you were there too, right? Money was pretty good. I mean, like, we didn't make a shitload of money as players, but our sponsorships were ridiculous. I remember, like, you guys even had, I was talking to Telford a while ago, and he was telling me how much your guys' paint budget was. Our paint budget was ridiculous. Your guys' made ours look, average, right? Like your guys' original. Like, I didn't even know.
But I remember going.
I was so naive back then.
It was a lot, man. So, like, I remember going to the field to just having a pallet of paint paint ready for practice. We just pull it off the pallet, you know. I remember like going down to Bob's house and calling Bobby and say, hey, I'm gonna have a skid delivered. We'll be down there and practice for the weekend. We'd show up, we'd have a skid down there waiting for us.
And it was good paint too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we're having a tough time even getting, you know, halfway decent paint down to us to have a halfway decent practice. And
is it weather related? Because I'll be honest with you, our paint up here has been really good, but we don't have. I mean, it's wet.
It might be weather related.
Yeah, because we don't have like the extreme cold. I mean, it gets to freezing and stuff down here, but not like you guys, right?
Yeah.
To where you guys are like snowed in and stuff, and we don't have that kind of stuff over here.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's ridiculous how cold it gets. But it doesn't compare to like Minnesota or Wisconsin or anything like that. I mean, I lived in Mankato, Minnesota for like 3 years, and that was freezing cold. A little too close to the north for me. But my point, going back to the professional teams, I don't think now, with the way the sport is being played and the game that is being played now and the skill sets that are needed for the game now, I don't think we're going to have a giant variety of top teams unless it's a straight across the line pay or something. I just don't think.
like you posted something the other like a couple weeks ago, and it kind of, you know, I commented on your comments. It was a really good comment, and I don't know how I got off tangent, but that's the one thing when I came back to paintball. Because when I came back, I was like, man, I could build another pro team, blah blah blah. I get right back in the mix, hopefully, you know. And then I started looking at everything. I'm like, there's no parity, right? There's like, you know, because I was, you know, I'm friends with Corey down there, you know, and you know, I talked to him a little bit about what their budget's like, and they don't have really a very good budget, you know. And then you're hearing that some of these top teams are obviously getting salaries, right? Because you can't have a normal, you know, unless they live with their mom or grandma. I mean, you can't, you know, they got to be getting some kind of money from paintball. So let's just use Houston Heat, and we'll use Impact. And no offense to you guys, because you guys are both ballers, and I got friends on both teams. But yeah, we're just gonna use you guys because you guys are the two top dogs, right? You guys have rich owners. I'm assuming that you all get some sort of salary. You guys do, right? Obviously. But the difference between, I'm going to use them versus, let's just use Aftershock, since you play on Aftershock, right?
Yeah.
So you guys get X amount of time. We all get this. Well, you guys both get the same amount of time to practice on the field, 2 weeks, right? You're given the layout 2 weeks in advance. Mm-hmm. But the difference between them and you is Impact will probably do all their drilling and all their, like, you know, the normal stuff you do during the week, right? Because they don't, you know, their paintball is their job, and then they'll scrim on the weekends. Yeah. Or like Carl has to drive 4 hours Friday night, Saturday morning, gets down to Badlands, probably spends the morning kind of walking the field and maybe just, you know, maybe doing some free play or whatever. And then you really probably don't really get to scrimmage probably till Sunday or the following weekend. Do you really get to scrimmage and break plays down and do anything like that, where those guys are way ahead? And the difference too is, I don't know what your guys' sponsorship paint wise is, but if you're having to buy your paint, even at a discounted price, right, through your sponsorship, other teams aren't buying their paint, right? So they can spend, you know, I remember the Russians were saying they'd shoot skids on a layout, skids. Mm-hmm. You know, that would be like, and I think I use this analogy in your comments, is like if you had two pro basketball teams, one basketball team only gets to practice playing basketball 3 hours 3 times a week, and the other team gets to practice all week and all weekend. There's no parity. There's no it's not an equal playing field, right? And that's why I think you're going to see teams like Houston Heat and Impact just dominate. I mean, they're going to slip every once in a while. They're going to take second or third, and then there's going to be a team like AC Dallas will sneak in there. They're real close, right? Those guys are just super solid, and they got some ballers that are just, you know, that McCurley cat is just killing it. And then, you know, all the Jackson brothers, they're solid. They're just solid. Their roster's super solid, but they're, you know, those guys are, you know, real job guys too, you know, so they can't really dedicate like just everything to practicing during the week and then doing the paintball thing on the, you know, they got to play on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So I think that one of those teams will sneak in there and get a win. I predict one of those teams will sneak in there and grab a win, but all in all, it's not fair, right? It's not a fair to like the bottom, probably 12 teams, right? Am I right? Like, I don't know what everybody's team budgets are, but I'm assuming that, you know, the top 4, 5, 6 teams are probably pretty well taken care of. Now, maybe not everybody's making salaries, but there's a lot of guys making salaries, you know. It's just not, you can't. Oh, and then plus the other teams that are playing both leagues, when we were at our sharpest, we were playing everything. We were playing MPPLs, we were playing NXLs or whatever it was called back then, PSP, NXL.
PSPs, yeah.
And then we would dabble a little bit in Europe. So we were literally playing a tournament, coming home, maybe getting a weekend off, and then prepping for the next tournament, playing a tournament, you know, and just we were constantly sharp. And like a team like Impact, for example, that's always in the finals, you know, they're getting double the reps. Like when they go to NXL, if Thunder's only playing 4 games at one NXL, Impact's what, playing 7? Is that what it is to get all the way, or 8?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it'd be,
they're playing
8 games.
Double the tournaments at a higher level, right? Because not only are they playing the 4 prelims, but they're playing as they go up, they're playing top teams. So they're getting that much more experience, that much more exposure, and then they're doing that in 2 different leagues. I mean, that's insane. Like, how can you? I mean, those guys are always sharp. Their spear is always going to be sharp, and like a team that's only playing 1 league, it's really hard, you know, for them. You know, just it's.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to also the individual player, just for the fact that I don't know. I don't know everybody's occupation out there. I don't know what they do. I don't want to claim that I know, but I have a good hunch that a lot of the top guys, if they wanted to go during the week and play paintball for 3-4 hours, they could. They don't have to worry about going and doing a job. But the thing is I don't think the league itself cares whether or not who has money, or, I mean, don't get me wrong, you better pay your entry fee if you want to pay, play in the league. But I mean, I don't think they care whether or not, you know, they want the 20 teams, they want the constant action, they want this this whole full circle thing. I think adding the teams, nothing against the teams, I think adding more teams isn't really the answer. I think we're just adding more chaos and more, you know, whatever to this thing that we're trying to fix and really try and figure out. But I don't think that the league cares who does well and who does well. I think they care who does well, but I mean, I don't think they care who doesn't do well. You just
okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They don't. I mean, it's
But look at other sports and even other. Everybody has an equal opportunity, but then people will come down and say, "Well, your equal opportunity is, you know, working your ass off on the weekends and going doing this and this." I was like, but not everybody can do that. And even if everybody can do that and they're playing at the high level, we're still we're going behind because other guys who are getting paid on these other teams can do shit during the week if they want to. If I worked hard and I what's that?
You're right, but it's the same. I mean, one of the arguments I think it was I've made this comment before, but maybe it was in your comment section, was like everybody has the same equal, you know, practice. No, you don't, because if you're getting paint for free, for example, for practices, and I don't know if they are, and I'm just assuming, right?
Yeah.
And you have 10, 12, 15 cases that you can just shoot every weekend. It's a little bit different than a guy who has a job, a family, and everything that has to buy that paint and then go out and try to, you know, like if you're working a 9 to 5. Or even like, you know, I mean, when I first got into paintball, before I was playing paintball, like I worked 12-hour shifts, but I would go drill during the week. I would just find a way to do it, but it was still hard, right? But I mean, it's not the same. It's just not the same. Like you can't go and practice if you're spending, you know, 35, 45, 55 bucks a case of paint. It's really hard to sit there and practice bounce shots because you're just like. Yeah. It's a nickel, or, you know, you just can't do it, where other organizations can just sit there and just dump paint at one, you know, up and down, just keep doing it because it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. I mean, it's
and then imagine you got to pay for your flight as well on top of that.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So, and to boot, some of these teams, like they're, you know, practicing, their organization to get to practice is so good. Like I hate to use Impact because I mean they're on top and you got to use them, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're down at DMG practicing one of the best up and coming teams constantly. And then there's a bunch of good players that are coming up all the time. And then they're over there flying to, X Factor's facility, practicing X Factor, another top team, and it's just like the quality of practices that they get is a lot different than the quality of practices, let's say, Thunder gets. Right? Thunder will get to scrimmage a pro team every once in a while, but like it's like probably, I don't know all of Corey's, I don't know their whole practice thing, but like they get to scrimmage uprising every once in a while, and sometimes they'll go down to DMG. But I mean, it's just not the same constantly, right?
Yeah.
They don't constantly have that kind of competition to shoot against, where like some of these top teams do. They constantly just have just quality practices, quality people shooting back at them, So it's hard, man. It's a hard one.
Well, and they put in their work. I mean, I'm not trying to dog on anybody playing on those.
The 2 times that I've been down to California more than that, but I went down there a couple times last year, and I hung out with Rainey at the UWO, and he was telling me, like, he's like me, like, we're practice guys, like we want to practice, we want to get better. So I was just randomly down there at WCPPL, and I look over at this field, and I see a guy out there by himself with 2 bunkers set up in targets. It's Rainey out there just shooting at targets, getting some kind of work in, and it's just like it's like those guys, they work their asses off, but I mean, some of them, it's a little bit easier for them to do that than it is for like other folks, right?
Yeah. So let's revert back to you. I mean, so what's this new team that you're playing for?
Yeah, we got off that tangent. What's that?
Who's this new team that you're playing for now that you're building up?
So it's just it's Northwest Dogs. Last year I took a bunch of guys that had like, less than, we played D3 at World Cup. We took 5th, and those guys, that was their 4th major tournament ever, like most of them, right? Like 4th major tournament ever, right? So it's like, I'm just working with these local guys that want to play, and I get some old guys that come out of the woodworks, and they kind of don't last real very long, because they come back and they think it's like it used to be. When I first got back online and started, Naughty Dogs or Northwest Dogs, I had a lot of my old guys were thinking, oh heck yeah, I'm gonna get back on that gravy train, and they were messaging, and I'm like, dude, you got to pay for everything, man. I ain't buying your gun, I ain't buying your paint, bro. And if you don't hear from them, it's crickets.
Yeah.
So. But so just a bunch of new guys that are, like athletes that want to work hard and, want to be coached. So we went from, like I said, like most of my practices now, we'll have just Northwest Dogs or Dog Silver, like our up and coming team, and even our like little young guns. We probably have 20, 25 people,
Really?
So it's yep. I'm just trying to grow it, just is grassroots, grow it from the bottom, and try to make paintball in our area, good again. Put us back on the map,
Yeah. Well, it's good to see, man. It's good to see, even following yourself. I've been following you on Instagram, and just the hard work and dedication that you're putting in, and the positivity towards the sport. And we're all obviously trying to, do anything we can to make paintball fun and to make it, just the top level that it can be. I mean, because that's what we want to do as athletes ourselves. We want to be challenged, and the better people get, that's just what we want. We want the competition. We want the fields to start popping up like it used to be. Yeah. And I mean, I really, really hope for it. I'm 32, and I'm not a very spring chicken anymore, and I just want to see the sport before I hang it up. I really want to see the sport in a good position, and it's so tough, because I'm truly not trying to criticize it, but at the same time I criticize things, and I get on certain topics because it means something to me. This is taken my life and just encompassed it all, and I have been directed and molded by the sport and more or less the people in this sport, and I just don't. I want to be able to give back to it, and this podcast and everything is a little bit of me giving back, and I owe so much to the sport and the people in the sport. I don't want to see it go the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would say 2006 was the peak of our sport, and I thought we were headed in the right direction. If you were to ask me in 2006 where I thought the sport would be in 2010, I would say that I thought we were going to be on ESPN and we were all going to be millionaires. I literally thought that because it was like ramping like that. I mean, we were on ESPN, Fox, WGN, but the problem is the major manufacturers at that time, they wanted to control everything and keep everything under control. So they were like pushing out major sponsors, and I mean, yeah, you know. And then,
I understand business. I had
a lot of fun at that ESPN2 tournament. Don't get me wrong, the Mohegan Sun, it was a time of my life, but the fact is that kind of stuck a fork in the sport as far as TV is concerned, right? Because before that, when Chuck Hench was running the NPPL, ESPN was basically getting like normal. They were getting advertisers to pay to come film us, right? They were, for TV time. Well, the NXL was at that time the Big Five. They were jealous because the Soup 7 was just really taking off, right? You know, it was a party. I mean, and basically Billy, I think he spent $2 million on that production. It was something ridiculous. I can't remember the exact number. I could be wrong. Maybe $1 million or $2 million. He paid ESPN to do that. Right. Jeez. So once you do that, you set a precedence, right? Like, I could be wrong on these numbers, but this is what I heard, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, so now if you're like you're ESPN, for example, you're like, oh man, these guys they're paying us to film. That's unheard of, right? Because usually we got to go get sponsors and to, buy airtime and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was kind of what stuck the fork in it at first, right? And then I think that not letting Pepsi and letting some of those big companies in at the time, not letting them really get involved with us, really hurt us. And then another thing too is not changing the format to something that's a little more spectacular is what's really, you got to get guys that don't play to watch it too, right? And right now the way the format is, it's really hard to, right? I mean, I love the sport and I watch the shit out of it when it's, I'm Go Sports legit subscriber. I'm not borrowing a buddy's, I'm paying my monthly dues and everything, and I love it, man. But I'm a diehard, but I mean, you get your wife or, your daughter to come in and watch it. They'll watch it for like 5 minutes and then they're on their phones and then they go to the other room, because it's just not keeping them engaged. And we got to find a way to do that if we want to prosper in that region, right? If we want to be on TV or whatever.
Yeah. So. And I think that's where with the whole thing with Go Sports, what I feel is that diehards like yourself or anybody who's subscribed to it and watches it religiously is more than likely somebody who has always been involved or is a paintball player themselves,
or coming up, right, or wanting to start being.
Exactly. And I think that yes, Go Sports has those. They have those subscribers. They're already set. They're paying their dues. They're paying their monthly dues. What do we need to do to get the eyes, the curiosity, and the ones who don't see the sport as we do? How do we rope those people in? We already roped in people who play the sport all the time and who want to see paintball. How do we get those other people in? And that's the question that I've been trying to find the answer to. And I know that Go Sports is trying to do the same thing, but we have to figure that out. That's us going forward.
Yeah, maybe our sport isn't made for TV. Maybe we are putting too much effort in the TV side, and maybe we need to put more effort into more of the marketing side to just get people to do the sport, right? Like, I don't know. I was just, as you were talking, I was just thinking of sports in the back of my head that we don't really see on TV, but obviously been around a long time, like mountain biking, like downhill mountain biking, or even like skiing. I mean, it is on TV Olympic wise, but you just don't really watch, everything. You don't watch a ton of stuff like downhill skiing. But maybe we need to just refocus our efforts on maybe not worrying so much about making it a household sport and maybe just trying to grow the numbers and just getting more people out to play the sport. I guess. I don't know. Yeah. That's a hard one, man.
Well, I mean, that's how it grows, right? Is we get people, because nobody's gonna come watch the webcast and then immediately turn into a tournament player and they're off to the races. It's got to go through the process, and that process is through the main manufacturers in the sport. And unless those guys or people, women, whoever, unless they start directing us in a certain direction as a competitive sport, it's going to be tough. Although I feel like we're kind of on our own trying to do this thing, and especially maybe some kind of streaming service or something like that. Fuck, 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago or something, there was a live streaming ESPN cornhole tournament, or maybe it was just on TV or something like that. But I mean, shit like that pisses me off because I'm like, it's. But the thing is it's simple. It's simple, and that's why it's easy to watch. It might be boring, but it's simple to watch. People can watch paintball, and it might be boring to them, but it's not simple. They can't understand and figure out what's going on. Not that people are stupid. Some people are stupid, but like they can't go, well, what's the main takeaway? What is the goal? What is the purpose? You know, and it's
you're right. But you know what's funny is I was talking to one of my clients, and he's a college coach. He coaches but I'm just keeping him in shape. And we were talking one day, and he was interested in paintball because he's a real fit guy, right? And he's like into the reason why I said mountain bike is he's into mountain biking, and he's really been asking me a lot about paintball. So I'm going to bring him and his wife out and have him play some rec ball at our field. But we were talking about the TV subject one day, and I was explaining to you, like, yeah, we were on TV before, but we screwed it up, blah blah blah. But he goes, well, I got a question for you. He goes, why do people like NASCAR? Right? Like, it's just going in a circle, making a bunch of left turns. But what keeps it? Why is it the most watched? Isn't it the most watched sport in the United States right now, or something? Isn't it up there?
Probably.
But what I'm saying is, do they watch it because they want to see the wrecks, or what keeps them engaged in that? I think it's because a lot of those guys are motorheads themselves, so they go work on their cars and do like hop ups on their cars or whatever. But I mean, like, so maybe the sport, because to me that's not. Like, I don't watch NASCAR. I mean, I've turned it on a couple times, and I'm just like, hey, I can't get into this, man. I just don't understand, you know. They're just driving fast in a circle. But I mean, some people are diehards. I mean, they go crazy, you know. So I mean, you know, what's getting them hooked on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but then you can take it back. I mean, taking the NASCAR reference, you can say, well, I mean, have you ever gone fast in a car before, and maybe like even you know, got over into a turn or into a so like you can kind of get that feeling, you know what I mean? And with paintball, at least on the recreational side, which is where you're going to start out when you start playing paintball, you're going to have that fight or flight, but you're not going to have that that whatever it is that turns on to the competitive side. And now you're working with this list of with abilities. Yeah, because I mean,
paintball feeds into a lot of things though. Like, if you think about it, paintball feeds into our adrenaline. It feeds into physical fitness, right? Because you got to be in pretty good shape to play paintball. It's probably one of the most physical demanding things that I've done. You know, I wrestled and played football. I mean, it's demanding, right? It feeds into, I'm a tech guy. I like taking stuff apart and figuring out how it works. I like tinkering with stuff. I can't leave shit alone. So it feeds into my tinkering and mechanical part. You know, it feeds into basically everything that I love. It feeds into, like, I like new stuff. I like to check out new barrels, new guns, new whatever. I love it. I mean, it's just, you know, when I order something new, I'm excited, man. I can't wait till it comes to my front door, you know. But so it feeds into just about everything. It's just, I think we got to get the people to the field and get them playing, and then that's how you kind of get the growth. But I mean, that's like, I mean, everybody knows that. But I mean, yeah, I don't know, man.
But I mean, I think that's what we have to do. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to is we're attached. We're balls deep into paintball. It's how, you know, I feel like our job, along with being the players that we is being the ambassadors for the sport itself, to try and grow the sport. Because I mean, you have to think about it. Like, what if by you saying, you know, to the coach who comes in and you train and everything, by you saying, hey, come out and try and play paintball and check it out, see if you like it. I mean, what are you getting out of it? You're just getting what I feel like you're trying to convey to them is a passion and a love for something that you enjoy.
They're obviously, both him and his wife are adrenaline junkies, man. They have motorcycles, they do mountain biking, they rock climb. I mean, they're like literally like the fit couple, and it's like for them, it's like it literally would feed into everything that they're already addicted to, and it would just literally just be, it's like a perfect fit. In fact, I'm almost worried, like even like some of my high school athletes, I want them to go out and play paintball, but I'm worried that they'll play paintball and forget about high school sports. And I'm huge on playing high school sports because you can only do it once in your life. Right. So like, that's why I had my son stop playing, because I'm just like, regardless, I mean, he was a stud, but I mean, regardless, even if he wasn't, I would still say, just play high school sports, because you can't ever do it again. Yeah. And I have a father and son that they've been coming out to our field a lot, and they play on my younger team, but the son's, I think he's a junior now, and he plays football and wrestles. He's pretty good athlete. Actually good athlete, and his dads keep telling him, I want to have little shocker. I want him to get him out and play more. I'm like, Dave, let the kid go do high school sports. Focus on that, because he's going to graduate in a year, and if he doesn't go out and play college sports, then paintball will still be here. And Dave was a athlete too. Actually, I played football with him. And it's just crazy because that's how addictive our sport possibly could be. That's why I caution, like for my athletes, for example, like I've had fun days for them, like the Zone is in my gym, sponsored like paintball days, but I'm always just real cautious and careful, because I want them to enjoy the high school sports too, right? Because you can only do that once. But I mean, yeah. Well, how addictive our sport is. I mean, how you've been in it for what, 20? Quite 20 years now?
No, not quite. I started playing in early 2002 and started playing pro in 2004. So what is it? 14, 15, called 16 years, give or take a few years, because I took a 3-year hiatus. But yeah, what I was trying to say with my other rant is there's, you're not going to get anything out of it besides bringing people into the sport that you want them to experience it. But the manufacturers and the fields are the ones that are going to benefit from it, and they need to be the ones to be like, okay, we're the ones making the money off of this game that we're conveying all of our love for, and trying to bring more people in, not by any means of our own of trying to gain from it, but the fields and the manufacturers have to put a hand in trying to turn this thing around, because I love paintball, but I love competitive paintball even more. And I want to see guys start making a living off of this stuff, and not even, I think it was Tyler Harmon. It was just a significant point in your life, a life-changing moment, is what I want to happen when you start winning tournaments. And it's not 12 grand for first place. It's 50 grand now.
It used to be up there.
Yeah.
Remember? It was like 40 grand, I think. I remember I won 5 jet skis at a tournament before. I won 5 jets. When the Naughty Dogs were amateur, I would literally go online and find any tournament that would have angels or anything for first place, and we'd fly there and win it. Amateur. Because it was an amateur, amateur event. An amateur event. But I mean, you don't prizes have definitely. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. The WCPPL, it's this West Coast League. It's I went down to the last one here, and I mean, I think he had like 70 teams. They put on a pretty good show, man. It's a really good show, and they give away I think it's $5 grand cash for first place. Wow. And the entry fee, I think, is around $1,000, $1,050. So that's a pretty good return on investment. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's never a return on investment in paintball. So but at least you can go there, play, and if you win, you at least could come home with something, right? You come home with $1,000 or something, But I mean, So, but I mean, then you go to the NXL. And I think we did the last one. It was $2,800 for our entry fee, and I think first place was $3,000. Oh my god! But in turn, I'm not. The one thing I will say to the NXL folks, to all those guys, they run a clean show, right? The bathrooms were clean, everything was clean. Logistically, it was. I didn't understand the lines for the player cards. You guys got to change that because that's just ridiculous. You got to come up with a different system there. But
Yeah.
I mean, as far as everything else goes, like everything else was clean and nice and just crisp, you know, and the reffing was good and everything was good. I'm just saying that like that's a lot of money to spend. You know, you got $2,800 plus your flights, plus your room, your board,
Hotels, but oh my god,
paint. You know, I mean, just everything. You know, and yeah. So.
But to end it on a good note, I'm super stoked to see you back in the sport and to see you bringing you know, young up and comers to this great game. And dude, I'd love to see you guys go pro again, but it's just like you said, I mean, you got to earn it, right? You got to go. You got to go through your steps.
I don't think the Naughty Dogs will be pro, but I think you might see some players come out. Like I think my son's goal is to become a professional. He wants to kind of follow his dad's footsteps. You know, the one thing about him, he's faster, better reflexes than I ever have. You know, he's a beast. So I mean, like once he gets that experience, you know, I think he'll be ready. But I mean, like, so I mean, hope you'll see some guys come out of our camp for sure.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you sitting down with me, and I wish you the best of luck in all the upcoming tournaments.
Man.
And dude, I'm gonna come back out to Seattle sometime. We're gonna my wife and I are gonna visit.
If you come out to Seattle, we're about 3.5 hours south. Let me know. You can come down and play some paintball. Come get a workout too. You know, if you need any, you know, like if you need any help on that on your knee, just send me a message. You know, and as long as you're cleared from physical therapy, man, we can help you. I mean, we do a ton with tons of athletes. So like, we get them back going. So,
is there do you have like a website or anything like that where people can check anything out that you do?
Yeah, I do. I mean, my website for my gym is it's actually my Instagram, and it's Perf Zone. It's Perf Zone 13 is the Instagram. But I mean, you can just see like pretty much I just showcase the athletes I work with. Yeah. But so
cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm sure I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thanks a lot, Carl.
All right, take care, Rocky.
Yep.
Sometimes I go off on some tangents, but I like his ideas. I like the I'm a big fan of that having one guy having to at least go past like the 30 or something, having an aggressor somewhere. Instead of going sideways, you have to go forward, and everybody has to go, you know, at least 1 to 2 people in 5-man have to go forward. And I think that is actually a really good idea, and I think Rocky had some good ones. So thank you so much, Rock, for sitting down. I appreciate it. A big thank you again to our sponsors, Charm City Paintball. You will see Rocky and his guys rocking some sweet headgear as well. And if you guys have any questions about it, go ahead and shoot Mike a message on Facebook, Charm City Paintball, and he'll hook it up. A big thank you also to Carbon Paintball, who have the SC packs out that are awesome, and they're all multicolored. Make sure you check them out. It has the patented air pump in the back to conform to your back to make it the most comfortable one out there. So make sure you check it out, carbonpaintball.com. And we're also brought to you by Planet Eclipse, who makes the best markers that you can literally find. I think they're some of the best shooting, not only from the top end from all the tournament markers, but also at the bottom end at the rental level. I think that Etha is amazing. It's just super fun to shoot. But like I said, make sure you check them out, planeteclipse.com, and they're everywhere, man. Y'all know who they are. But thank you everyone again for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you guys have any kind of questions, comments like that, shoot me a message, Carl_Markowski on Instagram and Carl Microwave Markowski on Facebook. I appreciate you listening. Make sure you don't text and drive. I like you guys alive. That rhymes. But that's why this platform is amazing, is because, you know, it occupies your mind and your ears, not your eyes and your hands. So again, thank you all, and I will see you guys here soon on the Playing On podcast. Peace.